Good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Ipitimisewac Métis nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Before I take a motion to adopt the agenda, we do have a lot of people here this evening in the gallery and in our lobby who probably have not been to a council meeting before and may not understand the rules or procedures of formal council meetings. So I do want to explain the process to ensure everyone knows how things will work tonight. We do have a lot of items on the agenda, so if you do have to leave, we ask that you do so as quietly as possible. The public is always encouraged to attend in person or watch online to observe the meetings and hear about the issues we are discussing. If you missed a meeting, they are available through the Town of Edson website or on YouTube. Council appreciates everyone taking the time to be here tonight out of their busy schedules. This is a formal council meeting and is governed by Council Meeting Procedures Bylaw number 2281, which outlines how meetings are conducted and ensuring good decorum throughout the process. Council Meeting Procedures Bylaw number 2281 states, all persons in attendance tonight will maintain respect and follow meeting conduct rules. This includes the public, staff, and council members. Members of the public will not address members of council during the meeting. Any disruptive behavior, raised voices, or any form of interruptions, including displays, during the meeting will not be tolerated. Crude, vulgar, obscene, and offensive language or gestures will not be tolerated. If any of these situations occurs, the chair, which is myself this evening, will stop the meeting immediately and have those persons removed from the Civic Center. Video recording devices are prohibited from being used during this meeting. If you have questions or comments following the meeting, you can contact members of council directly through the various means that are located on the Town of Edson website. This includes phone information, email information, and other contact methods. Cell phones should be silenced and the meeting should not be interrupted. If you need to use the washroom, one can be found outside of council chambers and to the right. Let's ensure we keep good decorum tonight and be respectful to everyone. Anyone disturbing the meeting will be politely asked to leave the building. If disruptions continue, the meeting will be adjourned and council chambers will be cleared until such time we can resume without interruptions. We do have a very busy council agenda tonight, so with all that said, I will take a motion from council for the adoption of the agenda. Go ahead, Councillor Chouinard.
I'll make the motion the agenda for March 25th, 2025, regular council meeting be adopted as presented.
I believe, Councillor Chouinard, you mean March 4th?
Yes, sorry, March 4th.
March 4th, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, the minutes of the February 18th, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make the motion that the meeting minutes of every February 18th, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings, but we do have a delegation this evening regarding the Community Engagement Action Team presented by Audrey St. Francois, Director of Fundraising and Grants. So if we can have our delegation step forward, please. Come on in.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Audrey St. Francois. I'm the Director of Fundraising and Grants for the Community Engagement Action Team, also known as SEAT, and I'm here today to talk about the West Haven Rink. So in January of 2024, the Community Engagement Action Team was awarded the Healthier Together grant, and a subcommittee was created to drive this project forward. The Edson Healthier Together Committee features people from the town of Edson Parks and Community Development, Alberta Health Services, Grant Yellowhead Public School Division, the Edson Library, Yellowhead County, and more. The focus is to increase social connections by creating safe and engaging spaces where people can gather, such as active living opportunities. Over the past year, the committee has met several times, conducted a community survey, engaged with residents at various events, identified key priorities, and selected initiatives to focus on, one of which is the West Haven rink. If council approves of this initiative, our goal would be to make the existing West Haven rink safer, more accessible, and versatile across all seasons. We would like to add a hard surface space, dasher boards, puck containment, a multi-sport court, an accessible path, and picnic area. We hope to complete the project by the fall of 2026. The multi-sport court, along with additional structures like a net system and basketball hoops, would allow for a variety of sports to be played, including hockey, basketball, and volleyball. Once the multi-sport court is installed, the ice can be built over top of the tiles and does not need to be moved for winter. The tiles also come with a 15-year warranty. The photo on the left illustrates the option to add lines for different sports, and the photo on the right shows the multi-sport court in Grand Prairie in the process of building ice on top of the tiles. This project would maximize the use of this space year-round and provide much-needed improvements, including safety components, provide an accessible space for inclusive social and recreational opportunities in a densely populated residential area, support active living and mental health, beautify, rejuvenate, and energize our neighborhoods. Additionally, this project aligns with the Town of Edson's strategic plan of creating a connected community that is safe and inclusive and ensuring quality infrastructure. We broke the scope of the project down into 2 phases. Phase 1 includes the geotech study, site preparation, and base installation, and the installation of dasher boards and puck containment. Phase 2 includes the addition of a multi-sport court, accessible path, and picnic area. This table demonstrates how funds will impact the scope of the project. SEAT is contributing $40,000, which we received from the Healthier Together grant. We have also confirmed over $18,000 in support from local businesses through in-kind donations. Pending council approval, the Youth Interagency Committee and the Eddie's Big Round Committee would each like to donate $20,000 from their reserves, resulting in an additional $40,000 of monetary support. Lastly, we intend to apply to the Community Facility Enhancement Program, which would match the funds that we have raised. In scenario 1, if council supports this project, all funding sources are available, and we are awarded the CFEP grant, we will complete phase 1 and 2 of the project. In scenario 2, if council supports the project and we are awarded the CFEP grant but do not have access to the funds from the Eddie's Big Run or Youth Interagency reserves, the budget will be reduced by up to $80,000 and will limit the project to phase 1. In scenario 3, if we do not receive the CFEP grant but all other sources of funding are available, SEAT will seek alternative funding to complete phase 1 as presented. If unsuccessful, we will work with stakeholders to scale down phase 1 to fit available resources while still improving the facility. And finally, in scenario 4, if we do not receive funding from the CFEP grant or the Youth Interagency and Eddie's Big Run reserves, SEAT will consult with stakeholders to explore if a smaller scale project is viable with available resources. Our request tonight is that the Town of Edson provide SEAT with a letter of support for the project, which is a requirement for us to apply for the CFEP grant. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Audrey, very much for your presentation this evening. Council will open the floor to any questions for our presenter tonight. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to, sorry, I forget.
Audrey.
Audrey. So what your ask is tonight is just a letter of support?
Yes.
So the funding would be a request later then, correct?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Chenard, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because the letter of support shouldn't be a problem, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Audrey, thank you so much for your presentation and your work with this project. It's so great to see community groups come together to do something positive in our community and upgrade our facilities. This is a community-run rink. This is sort of not run by the Town of Edson. There's a group of people in the community that do run it and work very hard to upkeep it every year, which we like because then it's a community rink. And it's just down the ways from my house. My kids end up using it, and I've been known to skate on it too, and hopefully no one's seen me skate because it's terrifying. But anyways, I absolutely support your your letter of support, your request. I know no decisions are made tonight, but this is something that we can certainly get behind, and we like it when certain groups step forward and want to do something positive. My only question is, obviously this is a community-run rink, and there's some gentlemen in the community that do run it. Have you been in contact with those gentlemen about the upgrades and the things they would like to see, since they're the ones that are going to take on the operations of it, or work like that?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Taylor, we have been, and one of them in particular is sitting around the table with the committee with us. And, you know, our goal really here at this stage is to secure the funds, but the fine tuning and details on, you know, what it's going to look like, we want it to look like and respond to the needs of the community. So yes, we are in contact with those people. Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments for our presenter? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair, Audrey. I like what your idea is. I do support it. I hope we can give you a letter of support for it and that. My question is, sorry, through the chair. Forgot about that. We don't have enough meetings. But anyway, if you're going to put down the asphalt and that, is there a chance that as the town brings in, say, border paving to do some asphalting and that maybe you can piggyback off of them for a reduced price to maybe have it out, put the asphalt down and that, instead of having them come in to just do a special project for you guys? Maybe we can, you know, let you know when they're in town if this goes ahead, and maybe we can do something like that to help you out.
This is still open, right? Okay. Through the chair to Councillor Bevan. Yes, we actually thought about that. So we were just waiting to hear about when border paving would be in town to try to save on costs there if it was to move forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Through the mayor to Audrey, how close will this follow the Grand Prairie model?
Through the chair to Councillor Moore, it's a little different. Over there, it's mainly just a basketball court, but it is within a community. They work with that company as well, which is a Canadian company as well. And, you know, we've been in contact with them and they've been super happy, and building ice on top of it also is pretty easy. The main difference is that they only went for the basketball court, but it's the same surface. So you just add a couple $100 to add a couple extra lines to be able to play different sports, essentially. Yeah.
Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to Ms. St. Francois, thank you for your presentation. It's very exciting to see a project like this. I know we've talked about our neighborhood parks renewal, you know, and it's something that always has kind of got pushed on the back burner as other priorities kind of, you know, got pushed forward. My question to you is, if we provide the letter of support and you end up getting approval for the funding, and you want to go ahead with phase 1 and 2, is it someone within your group that will be the project manager, or is that something that you would expect the town to be doing, that portion?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Kachka. We are in contact with a local contractor that could help us oversee the management of the project. I think SEAT would be also heavily involved. I guess those would be details that we could reconfirm, but I don't know if Lexi, you had any addition to that? Is she, yeah?
Through the chair to Councilor.
You just can come up.
Sorry. Yeah, so actually part of the sponsorships that we've collected include an in-kind donation to oversee the project. So we have a local contractor who's planning to work in conjunction with our Parks Department to ensure that it doesn't add a whole lot to their workload, but it's still being completed to the town's, I guess, level of satisfaction.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Councillor Pisichny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor to Audrey. It's amazing that so many people come out to view your presentation this evening. So we filled the galleries. It's nice to see.
I do have some supporters.
Yeah, a lot of people came to listen to your presentation. It's amazing. Actually, my question is maybe a little bit further to Councillor Chachka's is, so you have an in-kind project manager. So and maybe my question is for administration. If the date was correct, it was 2026 we're looking at doing this?
Spring 2026,
Okay.
fall 2026, yeah.
Oh, fall 2026. So not in this calendar year then.
No.
Okay. Yeah, just because I know even when we have a project manager that is like an in-kind one, there's still town involvement, and this is going to be a very trying year for our administration with the starting of the multiplex, getting that going, and with all the other things. So definitely, I would support this project going forward, especially if it's in 2026 and not in 2025. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the mayor to all of council, just to add to that, the group has been working with the Parks Department all the way along on this. So they're at the table hand in hand with this committee.
Thank you. Any other further questions, comments? This has been a rink I've talked a lot about around this table. I moved to that neighborhood. It wasn't being used when I moved there. There was lots of kids, and I got to learn how to flood a rink, and didn't do it very well, but some kids used it that winter, and since that time the neighborhood has really stepped up to take over that rink, and it's in pretty sad shape. So I'm excited about this. The money that you're asking for is money that was raised through those committees. It's not like tax dollars. It was raised through Betty's Big Run and Youth Interagency. So I don't see a need for or any problem with moving this project forward. It has been said around the table, we are stretched to capacity when it comes to projects right now. So if this is a project down the road, I think it's something that we might be able to hopefully complete. And it's a smaller project as well. So thank you very much for your presentation. You'll hear back from us in a few weeks once we get some recommendations from administration.
Perfect. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to our second delegation tonight. Staff Sergeant Christian Delisle presenting on the 2025-2026 policing priorities. Come on up, Sergeant Delisle.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yes, it's my year-end report. We'll talk about policing priorities, but I'm here tonight to talk about the year-end report, basically policing statistics for 2024 for the Edson detachment. Yes, I'm Staff Sergeant Christian Delisle, the detachment commander here in Edson. So my presentation will go over resources and staffing, our crime stats, annual performance for the 24-25 year, and what kind of policing priorities we would like to see for 25-26 fiscal year. And then, of course, questions throughout the presentation. So if we look at the staffing level, 2024-2025 was a bit of a challenge. We've experienced some shortage of all kind. At one point, I was down 10 members out of 23, so we had to use some overtime to make sure we had police officers on the streets. But since then, few members came back. The current status for us right now is, so out of the 23 members, we still have 3 members that are on parental leave. We have, the presentation says 2, but actually I have 3 members on medical leave now and 2 vacancies. So in terms of support staff, I'm glad to say that we're full. The last municipal employees was hired last month, and Tisha is doing a great job at supporting, training the team, and we have a full complement of support staff that are helping us with administrative duties, so we're really happy to report on that. So yes, so basically that's where we're at. So currently 7 vacancies that we're dealing with. So quick numbers before I go into the stats. So 2023, the Alberta RCMP calculated the numbers of calls for service that we took. So we saw an increase overall for the detachment of 6%. Last year, the town of Edson, we received 3,500 calls for service this year. Sorry, in 2023, we received 3,500 calls for service. This year, 3,800. Our total now is about 6,300 calls for service provincially and municipally for the RCMP here in town. And our when we look at those calls, so if we look at the type of calls and the workload that it represents, so if we look in terms of workload, the number one that comes up for Edson would be traffic complaints. And what I'm saying by workload is the RCMP has a way to calculate every type of calls that comes in, what kind of time that is usually spent on that time of call. So first that comes up is traffic. One of the topic that comes a lot is like property crime. That's one of our big focus. It comes up in 7th place. Prior to traffic, so we have traffic, we have mental health act, trespass act, assaults, harassing communications, and then we have our first property crime that it would be in terms of workload ranked by at the detachment. Now by count, just the simple numbers of calls. Suspicious person, vehicles or properties are number 1. Other moving traffic offenses are number 2. And then number 3 would be mischief, our first property crime that would be in the list there. So that's basically a representation on the workload of all those calls and attending those calls. So basically, Alberta RCMP for a municipal detachment calculated that the average response time was 13.3 minutes for the RCMP. So this is from the time that the call is placed, the information is taken, it's being dispatched, and a member shows to the scene. In Edson, we have an average of 11.6 minutes. So we're below the average. And these are for call priority 1 and priority 2. So we're talking life or death situation, serious injuries complaint, urgent requests from another agency, domestic in progress, a crime in progress. So these are the type of calls that within 11 minutes, sometimes it's way faster because we're closer or the information is gathered quickly, but the average is 11 minutes. So we're below the provincial average. Any questions so far? Because I'll dig right down into the statistics. So for 2024, so the numbers that I'm bringing here tonight are from January to December. So it's not reflecting of the federal government fiscal year. This is really from January 1st to December 31st. These are the numbers. So the first category is what we call person crimes. As you can see, overall, if we look at 23 to 24, we saw an increase of about 14% in person crime. So if I look at the first one, you know, I like sometimes how they title the type of offenses. So offenses related to death, 2. This is just a scoring method, unfortunately, and it sounds worse than it is, but we did have a fire, a house that burnt in town that, you know, some people were at risk. So that's why it's being scored as such. And there was a stabbing early January in 2024 that was scored as an attempt murder. Therefore, that's why we have those 2. If not, I want to bring your attention to assaults. You know, we have 116, slight increase since last year. Again, same thing. A majority of them are family related, acquaintance related. It's not like we have a situation where people are going out and are being attacked, you know, for no reasons in a back alley or something like that. So if we look at the second category, the property crimes, again, we saw an increase if we compare between 2023 and 2024, about 17%. The breakdowns are such. So if we look at break-in enters, so out of the 67 break-in enters that we saw in Edson, 28 were businesses, 21 were residences, and 18 were other buildings, so like sheds, any type of compound fence or something like that, garages. If we look at theft of motor vehicles, out of the 65 that we saw in 2024, 37 were trucks. So obviously, if you own a truck in Edson, make sure you lock the doors because they're sought after apparently. Theft under, so we had 145. We saw an increase of theft under. So 109 of those were just theft of gas, like propane tanks, little things that were stolen. Nothing major, but anything that someone could grab their hands on and steal. 16 of those were from a motor vehicle, so unlocked vehicles, and 15 were shoplifting. So just to remind everybody to make sure, like, you know, put stuff away at night and, you know, lock sheds and stuff like that, because if it's not tied down, sometimes people think they need it more than you and they just take it. And then if we go down to the mischief, so we have 2 categories. We have mischief, damage to property, and mischief others. So the first one is self-explanatory. It's basically 115 cases of something that was damaged, spray painted, the window broken or something like that. The other one, the mischief other, and we saw a bit of an increase. So it's what we call obstructing the enjoyment of property. The reason why we saw a little bit of an increase there is this year we saw the closure of Reflection for a little time period. So what happened is, unfortunately, our homeless population, they have nowhere to go, so they will hang out at the bank, they will hang out at the corner store, they will hang out at the hotels, and will unfortunately prevent the lawful enjoyment of those businesses, and we get a calls for service. Since Reflection reopening, we've seen a dramatic decrease in those type of calls for service. So just as a pointer. And the last category, is other crime. Basically, it wraps up pretty much the rest that we're dealing with. So offensive weapons, 14 cases in 2024. We're not talking people with firearms walking down the streets. It's when we arrest someone, they're carrying a knife, or they've, brandished a knife during an altercation with someone. So we saw some of those. Bear spray, we saw a few complaints where people were bear sprayed. And then when we look at our fail to comply and breaches, it's basically half and half. People not following conditions that were issued by the court, and the other half would be people just not attending court. So that's what could cause those 95 complaints. I also brought some drug stats. They're not representing on those. The reason why I'm bringing them, it's because they were part of our priorities for 24-25. And so just to give you an idea, in Edson, so in 2024, we had 9 cases of possession of drugs. 5 were related to cocaine, 2 meth, and 2 fentanyl. So Mr. Trump will be disappointed or surprised that we don't have that much fentanyl here. But anyway, it's just 2 cases. And in terms of trafficking, we have 5 cases of trafficking a substance linked to cocaine. Any questions on the statistics?
Just a quick question, Staff Sergeant Delisle. So obviously you mentioned earlier having members this past year has been extremely difficult. And when you don't have those members, proactiveness takes a back burner. So I guess when you look forward to 2025, 2026, are those positions going to be more readily filled? And do you anticipate that being more proactive will help drive some of these numbers back down? Because I think that's where we've seen the success in previous years is that proactive policing, the crew position that we had for some time, which really helped drive down those numbers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And yes, it does impact the numbers. The more officers you have out there, the more red and blues are flashing at night, the less criminals are out there being active. So in terms of staffing, so I have 1 parental leave that will be back at the end of March, so that will fill that position. Unfortunately, I have no control over the medical leaves. My communication with those 3 members, one of them is explaining to me that he would probably be back by the end of March, beginning of April. The 2 vacancies, one is the corporal position for the crew general investigation team. I cannot explain it. We've advertised it. No one is applying to fill this position. Back in the days, people will have sold their soul to the devil to get a position like this. Now it seems like it's a little bit more difficult to fill. And the other one is just a regular vacancy, just a constable. I'm like any other detachment. I'm fighting for new recruits for transfers, and there are just not that many members moving around or new recruits coming out of depot, but we'll hopefully be able to staff it.
And just for clarity's sake, 'cause I know there's a lot of people that don't know what the crew position is. That is a crime reduction unit.
Correct.
And they are proactive. They don't take calls for service. They're actually out there looking for our well-known criminals in the community and keeping an eye on them. So.
Correct. Yes, exactly. So right now we have those positions on standby, on hold, because I need the members to attend the calls and respond to the calls for service. Correct.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Through the mayor to Staff Sergeant Delisle. Going back to the persons crime, I noticed 2020 it listed 7 offenses related to death. Could you break those down?
I did not. I did not look at 2020. I only look at 2024. So I don't like the title of that category just because it sounds like, oh, we're having like a murder problem. So yes, it encompasses murder, but anything where there's a criminal negligence that could cause death, an arson that could cause death, or a mischief that could cause death, that's what triggers that category. So yeah, in 2020, I was here starting in June, and I don't remember like 7 attempt murder or anything like this. It was probably those type of categories that triggers those numbers.
Counselor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to Staff Sergeant Dalal. Thanks for bringing this forward. I have a question regarding the crime stats for Edson, and I'm wondering if the types of crimes that we have in Edson are similar to the crimes happening in the communities around us.
A very good question. Yes, so I have with me the numbers of our neighboring municipal detachment. So the Hinton, Whitecourt, and Drayton Valley. I have the numbers. I won't say which number applies to what, but Edson is in a very good position. So for example, if I look at the property crime for the other 3 places, I'm just going to remind everybody. So Edson for 2024, total property crime, we had 592. Another location had 679, another one 824, and another one 836. So despite the fact that we see a local rise, we're still in a very good position. And even if we look at those numbers, if I go back to property crime and we go back to 2020, if we compare 2020 to 2024, we're still 28% less than what it was in 2020. So we've had so many good years. Eventually it's bound to just, we work hard to always keep it down, but eventually there's circumstances and things that happens that makes it go up and down from time to time. So 2024 was a year that compared to 2023 we're a little higher, but overall Edson is in a very, very good position. And to finish answering your question there, are we dealing with similar type of crime? I did not break it down exactly if they had more mischief or more theft of trucks and whatnot, but the area, talking with my colleagues, other detachment commander, we're dealing roughly with the same thing. So I can confidently say that we're just having the same type of crime, we're just having less. So.
Counselor Pisichny.
Yeah, thank you to the chair to Staff Sergeant Delisle. On the stats, is this like if a report is created, it creates a stat, or is this where you get a conviction and somebody goes to jail kind of stat?
Oh, so those numbers, as soon as someone calls in the police, it generates a stats. Absolutely. So this is coming out of our 6,300 calls for service. Of course, these are only for the municipalities. About half were in the county. But as soon as someone calls the police, there's a file created, and then we have to score it. It falls into a category at one point. There's other categories that are not shown, but you have like some provincial categories, some federal categories. These are the main 3 that we're dealing with that are relevant to criminal code offenses. But yeah.
Thank you. Counselor Chachka.
Thanks, through the chair to Staff Sergeant Delisle. Another question on the stats that Councillor Pisichny kind of made me think of is if a $100,000 truck was stolen, is that counted just once as a theft of a motor vehicle, or does it count as theft over 5,000, or how is that pegged?
Yes, no, it's counted once. It would be under theft of motor vehicle. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There's no other questions. The only other question I have was we have a number of criminals that are repeat offenders that seem to really rise their stats when they're out on the streets. Can you give us a sense of how that is looking for the community? Do we have a number of those individuals currently incarcerated, or are they out and about in the community?
Yes, we had, so there's 2 that comes to mind. One that was very prolific in the rural area, especially targeting like oil and gas oil sites. He was located, arrested, he's in jail. There was another one that paid a visit at a dealership recently, and that ended up in a conviction. He was also one that was very prolific in other little petty thefts in town. So he's in jail, so we'll get a bit of a reprieve from that. But then who knows who's going to be released. in the upcoming months. But right now, in terms of very active, prolific offenders, no ones are coming to mind. It's actually not too bad. I don't want to say the Q word, but not too bad.
Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to Staff Sergeant Delisle, excellent work by your members to do what they're doing out there. Earlier in the fall, council approved the agent program. It was a program that the RCMP did endorse. Have you seen success with that program as well as you sort of partner with that? I know that you had initially said it was going to be another tool in your toolbox, maybe not change your what you were already doing, but have you seen at least some success? I think we had at least 72 businesses have signed up for that. So just whether or not you've seen success with that.
So the short answer would be yes. I've even heard from people from the community using it to their advantage. A lady told me that she had a problem with someone and says, hey, you see that sticker? Like, I just have to make a phone call and we're part of the agent program. They'll be here right away. And the people left. So we are seeing some success. I think the word got out in the community. Now, did we have to use any enforcement measures linked to that? No. So it is working. Yes.
Councillor Bevan?
Through the chair to Staff Sergeant Delisle, I had the same thing as Councillor Taylor, the agent program. But the other thing is, you're walking downtown and that, you had to, walking through the town and that. Have you got any feedback on if that was a success and how did they enjoy or did they like you guys walking through the town just to see what's going on? It gives them a little more, makes them feel better that, the RCMP's out there, they're not just riding around in their cars or on a bike or whatever. That. Have you had any feedback on that?
Yes, good question. Thank you. So I did, and I've done few patrols myself on foot in the downtown core. It was at the very, very beginning of the agent program, so I was more selling it than getting feedback from it. But still, just talking with business owners, employees, to get their perception on homelessness, if they felt safe and how they were, affected, impacted by this. First of all, us walking on the downtown was very positive. They were really happy to see us. I had very good conversation with many business owners. I want to say it was about 50-50. 50% of the businesses were saying, yeah, we do have some problem. Some businesses were explaining, well, they like to dumpster dive and get the boxes out of our dumpster, but as they're doing this, they're making a mess. Or another one was saying they like to build like encampment behind our business with the pallets that we leave there and whatnot. And some others saying like, we have no problem. Like they don't come here or they don't, like we have zero problem. So it was about 50-50, but they were really happy to see us. I know when my members did them, I asked them to report back to me and they said it was very positive. We were talking with people and they were happy to see us. Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Want to continue on with your presentation?
Yes. So now that we're done with the statistics, let's talk about our annual performance plan. So these were the goals set for the 24-25 year. So good federal government, we are on a fiscal year that starts April 1st to March 31st. So I don't have the complete numbers, unfortunately, because we're in March. So I only have the first 3 quarters, but that gives us a good idea of what we did on our annual performance plan. So these are the goals that we set for ourselves. So basically in crime reduction, we were aiming for 5% reduction of property crime. Well, no surprise, we're not going to meet it. We wanted to do 1,500 visibility patrols and 12 drug investigation. Now, community engagement, 50 community contacts, engagement, police presence, and it's an internal priority, developing the members and the staff, 15 courses training throughout the year. So if we look at our first priority, our crime reduction, so last year we had a total of 480 crime that fell into that category. After 3 quarters, we're already at 448, so we're not going to meet it, unfortunately. I estimate that we're going to be about 15% higher. 5% is what we're striving. Let's try to lower. But this year we just couldn't do it. We were too low. I'm assuming. But anyway, that's where we're at. In terms of visibility patrol, after 3 quarters, we're at 1,272. So despite the shortage, we're still pushing to have those proactive patrols. I did have to use a lot of overtime because we had to maintain the minimums. And we're seeing some of the good results out of these people that have warrants being arrested, people on conditions being arrested that are not following conditions, curfew checks, violation tickets being written, school patrols. So all the kind of positive results that we get out of the visibility patrols, we're still seeing it. And our 12 drugs investigations. So after 3 quarters, we had 29 file/investigations related to drugs, 7 related in charges. So I want to call this a success even after 3 quarters. If we're able to lay 7 charges for drugs related in Edson, that's pretty good. Drugs are not an easy type of investigation to do because there's no one calling, there's no victim calling, oh, I took some drugs, please come and help me. So we have to find them, right? So having 7 charges, it's a win. Now, community contact after 3 quarters, 31. These are the Canada Day, Remembrance Day, RCMP Bike Rodeo. Members went to the cadets, school presentations, summer festival in June, when we have the Jamboree here in town, the Gold Dust Days in the county, the Edson Rodeo, the Halloween Candy Patrol with COP, the Christmas Parade. After the renovation, we had a group of people that came and did a tour of the detachment, town hall for businesses on homelessness, and all those events that we're at. So we've done 31. I hope we're going to meet the target by 50. 20 in 1 quarter is a lot, and it's not the summertime, so we might be shy a little bit. That's a little representative of us being short members. We have less members available to go to, but we've hit the main ones, especially the summertime ones. So because it's important for the public to see us under a different light than always when there's an emergency or if there's something bad going on. Like we want to be seen as well as part of the community when there's some good things happening. Training, 15 courses after 3 quarters. We're at 19 courses. It was a little easy to meet, to be quite honest. We had such a turnaround of support staff. And like I mentioned earlier, Tisha is making sure her employees are getting the training, the courses. So we were able to send them on pros. That's our basically our data collection system, CPIC, the police system where we add warrants and whatnot, driver's license information. I had some members going on interview courses, tire deflation courses, extremism, violence, someone took that online, drug recognition expert, containment team, through rate rifle user. So we had a variety of training beside our mandatories that we have to do every year that we're taking by the staff of the detachment, just to make sure we're on top of what's going on. We have the skills and whatnot in order to properly serve the community. Any questions in regards to our annual performance plan?
Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to Staff Sergeant. The one I was curious on is the visibility patrols, and the reason I'm saying what it details, because you hear from the public, we never see them. So what does a visibility patrol actually mean?
So-
Like how far you go and et cetera.
Yeah, no, good question. So basically, I'm asking my members to do per month 10 patrols, like other than going to a call for service. So basically, get in your police car, drive around, go where you know there's some criminal activities going on a regular basis. Go to the hot spots, go to the main locations where publics are at, business are at, and whatnot. So sometimes we don't always have the time to do them at peak hours, obviously. Sometimes they are at night as well. So people don't necessarily see us, but we're out there. And the members are doing their 10 patrols. And during those patrols, I ask them to, do some curfew checks and stop vehicles. There's no quotas for tickets right now, but I'm asking them to at least stop 3 vehicles where there could be a ticket. So either write a ticket or give a warning, but at least 3. So we keep an eye on traffic offenses in the community. So that they don't see us. Maybe we drove in your back alley at night, and that's where sometimes we need to be at. It's at night, and other than daytimes where, yeah, you'd see me in your window, but there's no criminal out. So it's a toss up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, continue on.
So then the last portion, really, it's our policing priorities. So our new fiscal year, 25-26, is coming up. I would like to hear from council what they would like to see in terms of policing priorities. I always say this, sometimes we sound like a broken record, but the criminal landscape does not change, day after day or year after year. We're going to be probably dealing with the same type of criminal code offenses, the same criminals next year. So, what would you like us to see? Personally, I wrote down the property crime, community contact, and drugs as it fits the community. Getting your opinions on these. If there's something else you would like to see, basically, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant Lyle. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Staff Sergeant Delisle, looking at the policing priorities, I like what I see in terms of that. The stats support, looking after property crime. And I can attest those community contacts go a long way for people in the community to see, the police are people that we can call. They're going to come. We can have these positive conversations with them. I've had yourself in my classroom, speaking to the students. I think that's an important part of also, the community recognizing that you're willing to speak with them. I was at the town hall that was very well attended on homelessness in the community and housed in the community and some of the disturbances that were happening. And a lot of people left saying that they were heard. And that's another, positive thing that we're doing. So that you're doing. So supportive of the policing priorities you have for the next year.
Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to Staff Sergeant. Your category drugs, people always say we have a huge drug problem. I know you have stats. How does Edson compare to our surrounding communities? Because you hear from the public it's horrible, but where are we really at?
Good question. So I did not compare those statistics with the surrounding. Again, talking with my colleagues, we're not worse or better. It's pretty much the same everywhere. Drug is present. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we had as many overdoses as we did last year, just from memory, not from stats. So I think we're doing all right, but it's probably not a bad idea to keep an eye on it. No. So back to your question, Councillor. We're not worse or in a better shape than any of the places. It's just it's prevalent everywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any further comments on the policing priorities? Councillor Bevan.
You're the chair to Staff Sergeant Lyle. It's kind of, I don't know if it ties into this here, but we have a trade show coming up in April and that. I've had a lot of questions being asked about scamming that's going on, not only our seniors, but anybody in the community. And they're wondering if they're ever going to put a booth in there where you can give them some kind of information on what to look for, expect, or how they go about it, or who they can contact with if they're, they've been scammed in that, because it is a growing thing that's going right across the country here in that.
And you're right, Councillor. It is something that we see a little bit more. People calling us different type of frauds, and they're getting more creative. I will give them that. I don't know if I would have the material to do a booth or something, but certainly open to presentation. We could go to seniors' home. We could go to the Pioneers Cabin and do some presentation. That would not be a problem. We've done it in the past. So yes, for sure. If this is something that I think it's a good idea. Yeah, we could certainly do some presentation.
Anything further before we continue on with the agenda? Staff Sergeant Delisle, I do think that property crime obviously is our number one priority, especially outside of our jurisdiction in the county. I know they've been hit hard with copper and that sort of thing. And I think that, those drug investigations, that's critical as well. And I do agree with Councillor Bevan that maybe some presentations on some of the fraudulent scams that are going on, because I do know personally of at least 3 people in the community that unfortunately have fallen victim to that. So I think that would be a good idea as well. I also would like to thank you and your members for the following day after we asked for increased presence downtown, your members were out there and yourself personally. So really appreciate that, and hopefully we can continue that involvement in our downtown core as well. So that's good. Thank you very much for your presentation. Oh, Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair to Councilor Dell, just a comment. I like that you guys are wearing your body cameras now. I see people out there saying they're wearing their body cameras. It's just another level of security for anybody that sees you guys out there. So I'm really glad we were able to get you guys to put them on in the province, to put the money into it.
Yes, no, thank you. And in my opinion, they were long overdue. It was not fair. Everybody else was filming us, so now we can film you. So we have our side of the story. It's transparency. It straightened our cases and whatnot. So yeah, we're all wearing our body cam. I have mine on me right now. It's obviously not recording, but it's on standby. So if something happens, you click on it and it records. So yeah, absolutely.
If it was recording, I'd have to kick you out. So
Yeah.
Councillor
Oh, if
Trashka.
I'd known that.
Through the chair to Staff Sergeant Delisle, regarding the policing priorities for 2025-2026, is the public going to have an opportunity to have input to those as well?
Thank you. Yes, I need to do a town hall. I'm a little behind with my town hall. I will do one in March. I just don't have a date yet. 2-3 weeks from now, for sure, I will have a town hall. It will be announced on the county and town website. Yes, thank you. I forgot.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant Delisle, and feel free to join us for the rest of the evening.
Yes, thank you.
Or leave if you really, really want to. We are going to move on to, we have no bylaws. We're going to move on to business items under category G. We're going to ask our fire chief to join us. I don't know, he's someplace in the building. To speak about the Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta FireSmart Vegetation Management Grant Letter of Support. Welcome, Chief Milton.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am here tonight to present our FRIA grant application. We are submitting or have submitted the grant application for FRIA in the amount of $200,000 request to FRIA to conduct FireSmart work for the town of Edson here. In 2024, FireSmart treatment was completed along the 48th Street area and behind 18th Ave along the trail. That grant for 2024 was $53,000, and it actually worked out in our favor because our contractor was making some great headway, and we were actually able to get more work completed for the amount of money that we received the grant. So we did do an amendment to it real quick, and it was approved by FRIA to be able to continue on with the additional work. The pictures off to our side here are the area of 48th Street there. Excuse me, kind of the before and after pictures. So you can see kind of that overgrowth and vegetation was removed. Some limbing of ladder fuels were removed as well. And any of the dead and down trees were removed as well. We received a ton of great feedback from our community regarding this. We had a number of residents, particularly along the trail on 18th Ave, behind the residential area there that really enjoyed the work that was done, that they felt safer. It was clear lines of sight. When you first went off to the trailhead, the Atco gas station that is just off to your right side, we couldn't see the fence line on that and the fencing. Now when you come up to the trailhead, you can clearly see that fencing now. So some great work was done with that. As we move on, so this FRIA grant application will allow us to continue to that FRIA or that FireSmart work for our community. We have identified several areas for the 2025 season that I'll touch on here shortly. In total, it's going to be about 40 hectares worth of work throughout the community here. And this is strictly based on funding from grant funding from FRIA. We're also I've been working with CN and AHS and a few others to try to see if they're able to pitch in and do some work around their properties that they own. The more FireSmart work we do, the better off our community is going to be in the event of a wildfire scenario. Also, and I encourage all of our residents to participate. They can swing into the fire hall and pick up a free FireSmart guide to help them with their work at their homes as well. So the area that we're looking at here currently is going to be this area to the north and east, which is going to run from 48th Street at the Edson Drive area to across the back end of the Parkland High School, all the way down through the 10th Ave area, south towards 6th Ave and continuing on down. This is all town-owned land that we're looking at having the work done. This was done approximately 10 years ago and does require retreatment. And what we're going to be looking again is removal of the dead and down trees that are in there, and thinning of the ladder fuels and thinning of the canopy as well. We're not going to open it up. We've been changing a little bit of what we've been doing. We're not opening up to the full 3 meters. When we do that for the canopy, if we do that, you will start to see an increase in blowdown. So what happens is if we have significant windstorms, those root bases on those trees haven't been able to develop what they need to. So by thinning that canopy slower through retreatment process, we're able to maintain those trees that are there that are healthy without having them blow down on us. Also, what we're going to be looking at is down by the skate park here on the south side of the map. We're going to be looking at that area, the area directly east of the snow dump. There is a forested area in there. And we're also looking at the area of the directly north of the airport. That area has been retreated as well for the airport. However, it has been a few years since anything's been done there, and there is overgrowth and regrowth, and there is some dead and down trees that need to be taken care of. So we're going to be working on that as well. We are looking at putting this out to tender and kind of having it broken up into multiple phases as well. And through our recommendation is what we're seeking is for council to authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support for us to accompany the expression of interest that we've submitted already to support our grant for FRIA here. So I will take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Chief Milton. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to Chief Milton, thank you for the presentation. I know the FireSmarting in our community has generally gone over very well. My question is around the waterways that are within the FireSmarting boundary. I know when we've had some significant rainfall, the town has gone afterwards and tried to clear that up, so it's free to move water, I guess, fluently. How will this impact those waterways?
So I wouldn't be able to predict exactly how that'll impact the waterways. What we're doing is you could still have the potential for windstorms that have branches break off, so on and so forth. So there could be that kind of inundation on those waterways. What we're really focusing on is just bringing that sight line on the forests up to that 8-foot mark. So if we have that creeping ground fire, crawling ground fire, it's not going to be brought up into the crown of those trees. So I'm not 100% sure, honestly, how that may affect for items that might end up in the waterways. So,
Can I have a follow-up?
Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Okay, just a follow-up through the chair to Chief Milton. Sorry, I probably should have worded that better.
no worries.
Will they be cleaning up the downfall surrounding the waterways as well?
Correct. Anything that is, through the chair to Councillor Chachka, anything that is dead or down will be cleaned up, bucked up, and disposed of. We'll also, throughout our process, we've also been providing some of this wood for residents for free, just because it's an easier way to get rid of it, and it's usable for our residents for campfires, so on and so forth. So anything that is dead and down currently will be bucked up and removed. Yep.
Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair to Bradley Medley. How many areas do we do in the town of Edson? And the second question is 10 years too long to go, considering the way the environment is, our climate changes are, and everything else, the forest fires we're having all over the place here and that? Is that too long to go? Should we be shortening it up and doing it more often or not?
Through the chair for Councillor Bevan, I personally, yes, I think that we should be working on these, and I have been establishing in the last 2 years I've here is the processes of how we're going to go about this in areas of concern and areas of that are of the highest priority, particularly those that are closest to our our residential areas and then working out from there, right? What we're also looking at doing is it's a lot of work to do the FireSmart work, particularly on a large forest area that we have, particularly to the northwest there. That's going to take some time, especially for crews, because they are in there. It's not machine work. It's all hand work with brush saws, with chainsaws. So that does take some time. So it's just building that process and the grant funding that we get from FRIA.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Chenard?
Through the mayor to the fire chief. Just a comment, I'm glad you clarified that canopy thing, because a lot of times we hear, especially on the trails, we were just in there cleaning and oh my God, trees fell down. So I'm glad you pleased that, because, you know, people would complain, why didn't you take that tree? So it's just a comment on your explanation of that.
Thank you, and through the chair to Councillor Chenard, just a note for all the council is that even as we do remove trees that are visibly dead or affected that may be required to be removed, there's still the potential for trees to die later on and that can fall. They may be weakened, they don't look like they're an issue at the time, but they do fall when we do have significant windstorms. So that does happen still.
All right, thank you. I don't see any further questions, so I will take a motion from council. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that council authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support to accompany the expression of interest for the 2025 Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta FRIA FireSmart Vegetation Management Grant.
All right, thank you. We will open the floor to debate. Anybody against fire smarting our community, please step forward. Seeing nobody, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Chief Milton.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, we are going to move on to the Municipal Policing Committee, presented by Eric Christensen, our Enforcement Services Manager. If he wants to step forward, come on in, Eric.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm bringing back the Municipal Policing Committee that we spoke about a few weeks ago. The provincial government passed Bill 6 of the Police Amendment Act on December 15, 2022. Municipalities are mandated to participate in either a regional or creating their own municipal policing committee. In order for Edson to opt out of the regional committee, council is required to submit a request to the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services. Our region is the West region, which includes Drayton Valley, Edson, Hinton, Peace River, and Whitecourt. All of the municipalities in the West region has chose to opt out except for Peace River. Administration is recommending pursuing option 2, the Municipal Policing Committee. This option best reflects local public interests and concerns, providing the opportunity for direct collaboration with local RCMP leadership. It would allow for more focused discussion on municipal policing priorities, strategies, and community safety initiatives, addressing issues specific to Edson. With that, administration recommends that council seek an exemption from the Regional Policing Committee in favor of the Municipal Policing Committee for the town of Edson.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen, for your presentation. We did discuss this at length here a few weeks ago. So, Council, do you have any further questions before we take a motion? Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Mr. Christensen. I do find it interesting that the only person who won regional is the one who's not really part of our region. Is there any light on that? Like, it almost doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you for the question through the mayor to Councillor Paniczki. It's the region that was set up by the RCMP. It's not what we set up. And again, when I spoke with all the rest of the municipalities, we have a group that we were talking about. And yeah, they were the only ones that had chose to stay with the regional. Unfortunately, if everybody else opts out, then they automatically have to opt out because there is no region then.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Mr. Christensen, thank you for bringing this forward. I was challenged a few weeks ago, and I guess I'm challenged a little bit again. It says in our request for decision, this legislative reform from the provincial government aims to address growing concerns around transparency, accountability, and community involvement in policing. So I hear those things, and I guess I'm struggled that the word transparency. We just had Staff Sergeant Delisle, present crime stats to the biggest gathering of people we've had at a council meeting. So we are transparent. We do these things. We have accountability, and that's again our staff sergeants stepping in front of our council and answering our questions. And the last one is the community involvement, and we just saw the policing priorities of going around to the public and chatting with the public. So I am struggling with why the province is implementing this. But since it is mandatory and we have to do it, and it is going to cost this council money or this municipality money, and we have to do it, is frustrating. So thinking about head to the committee itself, what types of things will the committee discuss or decide upon at those meetings, how those meetings will be structured, and those types of things?
Thank you for the questions through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. There's a lot of things that we're still trying to figure out, and all the municipalities are asking those same questions. All our councillors are asking the same questions you're asking. We don't have the answers. We are trying to figure out a lot of this stuff as we're going on the fly.
Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the chair to Mr. Christensen. Thanks for bringing this forward, I guess. You had to do it, I guess, so thanks for doing your job. It is mentioned in the memo, and we talked about it at committee a little bit, that there's a cost to setting up this committee, making those arrangements, and of course there's staff time, which means that you're unable to do other things that you would have been doing if you weren't mandated to do this. My question is, so we've talked about that at the town of Edson level, and I'm just wondering if you're aware of if those impacts are the same for the detachment. I know they're a third-party contractor, but if there's added fees to them, then that just ends up in our budget as well. So do you know if they're expecting an increase in financial, I guess, an obligation towards this, that it'll cost them some money too? And do you know about any time requirements that if they're doing this, then they're not doing other things that they could be doing as well?
Thank you for the question. Through the mayor to Councillor Chaska. There would be no added cost to the detachment because the officer in charge would be attending these meetings, but they're non-voting, and the committee is the one that will take the direction of the residents and build priorities and that type of stuff. So there's no added cost to the RCMP. The cost all is bared by the municipality.
Thank you. And as was discussed at committee, is that the county is not involved at all. They're mandated to be a part of the provincial committee because they're deemed provincial policing, where we're municipal policing, but we have the same detachment. So that does not sound very efficient nor effective. But anyway, we are where we are. I am meeting with the minister this week, and I will be sharing our displeasure with this direction because it is adding additional cost when it's not necessary. We already have processes in place. We have town halls where the community can engage and fire questions at our staff sergeant. And he's always open to taking those phone calls as well. So thank you for bringing this forward, and we'll see where this goes. Council, I will take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I move that council seek exemption from the Regional Policing Committee in favor of a municipal policing committee for the town of Edson.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And we are going to move on to 2024 projects carried forward into the 2025 budget year, presented by our Acting Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Denise McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to bring forward this really is a bookkeeping item. Audited financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024 is now in progress, and a resolution is required to authorize administration to carry forward operating and capital work into the 2025 budget. This ensures financial accountability and proper approvals for continuing the work that commenced in 2024. And we're proposing a carry forward total of $2,155,818. And of course, those numbers are subject to audit adjustments. Since these projects have funding that was established in the 2024 budget, no financial impact will result on carrying them forward into 2025 budget requirements. So the two items you have on the left are 5 projects being carried forward for operating purposes. You can see in the first column that we have listed the original budget at $560,000, and we're carrying forward what is remaining on those projects of $528,353. The last column on there is the reason for the carry forward. On the capital side, we have 6 projects carrying forward. The original budget was $1,737,000, and we're carrying forward $1,627,465. And again, we have the 3 columns, original budget, the carry forward amount, and the last column is a reason for the carry forward. With that, I ask that I recommend to council approve the attached list of operating and capital carry forward projects to be completed in the 2025 budget year for a combined total of $2,155,818. And I pass it back to Mayor and Council for questions.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald, for your presentation. Council, any questions for Ms. McDonald before we take a motion? All right, we have no questions. I will take a motion from the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make the motion that council approve the attached list of operating capital carry forward projects to be completed in the 2025 budget year for the combined total amount of $2,155,818.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. McDonald. All right, we are going to go to council committee reports, and we are going back to February the 15th. Council, if you would please queue up your mics, and we'll go through the list. Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
On February 19th, I attended a library board meeting where we updated and approved new policies for the library. February 22nd, I attended our FCSS strat planning session. It was a full day event on a Saturday. I want to thank all the volunteers on the FCS as well as our staff for coming together, and we created some excellent goals for the group that we're just going to end up finalizing into a final document of what this group will be focusing on, what they like FCSS to focus on over the next few years, and of course we'll be sharing that with council and the public once it's complete. Yesterday, March 3rd, I attended a homelessness task force meeting that was just on a check-in item on a few things. And yesterday on March 3rd, I attended a youth council meeting. Just an update, every year the youth council focuses on a project, and their project is on track for next month to do a meal for unhoused individuals in our community. And they have fundraised quite a bit of money to sort of purchase this meal and get that organized, as well as they're running a 50-50 at the trade show. They'll have a booth there with some information and with money raised going to the food bank. So if you see those types of things, thank our youth council for the work that they're doing. And that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Chenard.
I'll make mine real easy, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to report. All my committees are coming up after this meeting.
Councillor Chachka.
Thanks. Through the mayor, I was away for the last meeting, so I'll just go back to the previous one. On February 6th, I had an investment review committee with Community Futures West Yellowhead. On February 11th, I attended the committee of the whole meeting. On February 26th, I had an attraction and retention committee of Edson and area, and that is a healthcare recently created committee regarding healthcare and the attraction of physicians and other healthcare workers in demand in our area. We've been working very hard on many different areas, focusing on attraction, retention, and integration into our community. On the attraction part, we've got a few different events coming forward that we're working on. We don't want to let out all our secrets because we would like to attract and fulfill the needs of our residents before, I guess, sharing our ideas too far. I'll let the mayor speak to the local healthcare hero award because he's involved with that. I've been working on an introductory letter of that committee to the community, so that is prepared and will be sent out next week. It will also be in the paper next week as well, so you can find a little bit more information about what is happening with this committee. The mayor of Yellowhead County informed us that the county did approve a funding request that matched the town's. I guess seed funding for marketing and attraction opportunities for healthcare workers in our region. And there's a Spring Fling update, or I guess a Spring Fling event happening with the foundation on Thursday. So I think there might be a few tickets left. And they are the main core funder of this group. So we would like to promote their events. We also have local active physicians attending our meetings, so they come and provide us with ideas on how we can attract new physicians as well. Our integration committee has been really hard at work trying to find different ways when a new physician moves into town. They don't know anybody, and they bring their families, and they want to make sure that they can feel safe and comfortable and meet people that share the same hobbies, and we want to establish that as quickly as possible. There's a skills day coming up, so we can have, I guess, homegrown healthcare professionals, I guess, from the schools on Thursday, March 6th as well. So they'll be working with the hospital doing, I don't actually know what these are, but they're called a suture demo and an airway demo. So they'll be learning that. And so that sums up our meeting, which there's more, but that's a lot. And then also on February 27th, I attended the Community Futures West Yellowhead board meeting. They have been working on giving out $2 million in grants distributed to Jasper in grants of $5,000 or $10,000 amounts to the community. So that has been something that has been a substantial support for Jasper since the wildfire. And Community Futures is because Edson has been a huge supporter. They are doing a women's entrepreneurial event in Edson in November 19th. So they're just starting those, I guess, planning stages right now, but that will be located in Edson this year. So that's really nice. And that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Trashka. Councillor Pasechny.
And mine's really simple, as Councillor Taylor already spoke on youth council. I attended youth council on March the 3rd. And earlier today, I had a meeting along with the town manager with a local resident on an issue.
Great, thank you, Councillor Pasechny. Councillor Bevan.
February 11th, committee of the whole meeting. February 27th, I also attended the Community Future West Yellowhead meeting. And it was nice to see that Nancy said she had the biggest budget ever, $730,000. That's the biggest one she's ever done for us in that, eh? And June the 14th is Lemonade Date, so we hope to have good participation from everybody in the community here. It goes through all our 5 communities here in that. And with the Jasper Recovery Program with Perry's Can there, they're at 1.84 million. And what she had said was that they hope to get to about 2.14 million, I believe it is, from Prairie's Can. And it was for 200 businesses they helped out in Jasper, which is a total of 943 jobs that they were able to save. So Community Futures is doing a lot for them in that. And it's, she says it's really surprising when people come in and ask for a loan or whatever. It's very hard when they come in and they can't believe that Community Futures helps them out to, say, replace all their tools or their trucks or stuff like that. They're just they're so happy about it, they can't believe they do it. They got tears in their eyes when they come in, and they're just happy that somebody is reaching out to help the businesses in Jasper and help them rebuild again and that. So it was a very good meeting. I was really happy to see that. And that is my report.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Councillor Moore.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. For myself, on the 26th, I had the ARC meeting with Councillor Chachka, sit on that committee. And one of the things that we are doing as a part of the subcommittee to that committee is working on ensuring that we retain a lot of the talent that we do have in our community and recognizing the contributions that have been made. We have some longstanding physicians, longstanding nurses, some of them that were born and raised here, some of them that came back. So ensuring that they know that they are appreciated. So we have created the Healthcare Heroes Awards program. So nominations are being accepted, and there will be nomination forms available at various locations like the medical center, the hospital, and it's also online right now. We really just want to recognize their contributions, and the awards will be handed out during Alberta Rural Healthcare Week, which is coming up later this spring. The Community Care Foundation hosts a barbecue at the hospital, so we hope to hand out those awards then and recognize some of those individuals. And part of actually, I'm not going to share this information because it's one of the strategic things we're doing so we don't give ideas to other communities. But we are going to be doing some things with some of our current physicians to help attract others to our community, and I'll just leave it at that. On the 27th, I met with Mayor Williams of Yellowhead County to talk about a number of regional items, healthcare being one of them, and our further collaboration between our municipalities. On the 27th as well, I had a surprise call from the Minister of Transportation, Devin Dreeshen. Wanted to chat about Highway 16 through town. He saw the pictures and wanted to know what was going on, and they were following up with their contractor on the situation, and we have seen them out there doing repairs, and talked to him about the repaving project of Highway 16 through town. The following afternoon, I ended up having another phone call with the Minister of Transportation's office and the Deputy Minister's office about the current status of the repaving project. They had a meeting earlier in the morning, and they are working to speed up that process to hopefully get that project going sooner than 2027. It is in design phase. It is a part of the capital plan for the first time ever on the capital plan for the province. So that is good news. And they're going to work with our town staff to better coordinate because we will have some municipal infrastructure we're going to have to upgrade with that project as well. And that is my report. We will go to information items. RCMP Q3 2024 report. Can I get a motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
I move that Council accept the March 4th, 2025 information items as set out in attachments number 1 to number 4 for information.
Thank you, Councillor Chachka. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. And now for the thing everybody's been sitting here eagerly waiting for. I am going to put a motion on the floor that Council waive notice for the notice of motion. That will be before us this evening. So the reason I am asking Council to waive notice is because this program launched earlier this week, or last week I should say, and there was a significant amount of feedback. So I do believe we should be discussing it tonight to provide clarity as to Council's position on this program. So with that, I will call the question. Did I make the motion? Yes, I did make the motion. Okay. I will call the question. All those in favor of waiving the notice of motion? That motion is carried unanimously. And I will put a motion on the floor that Council direct administration to terminate the rural renewal stream program for the town of Edson. And I will speak to that this evening. So anyone that watches council meetings or attends functions knows that I don't often prepare notes when speaking, but I have tonight. That is because what we are discussing this evening is of critical importance to people's livelihoods with much to be considered. This includes long-term residents or youth that may have had problems finding a job, business owners that are struggling to find reliable labor, or those who have moved here over the last couple years hoping to build a better life, only to find out they may need to leave now because this program may not move forward. I brought forward this notice of motion to ensure we, as a council, have the opportunity to discuss this program once again, a year after we last discussed it due to a significant amount of backlash on social media. Social media is not normally where I get my direction from, but in this case, things were starting to get awfully nasty and taking away from the legitimate concerns being raised by the public. No matter who you are or where you are from, everyone deserves a level of respect, and it's easy to forget that when things get very emotional. To anyone that was hurt or felt discriminated against based on their country of origin, on behalf of our community, I do apologize. That is not what Edson is or what we strive to be, nor do I believe it was the intention. The notice of motion before you tonight was brought forward with a specific action, so we could debate it in front of the public, taking all information to account. My hope is that by having this debate, those with concerns feel like they were heard, no matter if they are for or against this program. I voted for this program in 2022 due to the large amount of vacancies we had around Edson at the time. I voted to suspend the program in 2023 due to some really big issues that were uncovered. Then last year, I voted to reestablish it after the province fixed a number of those issues and we introduced much more stringent criteria. I stand by those decisions and by our strategic plan, which outlines our priorities, which include infrastructure investment, economic growth, and diversity. The motion today is not something brought forward lightly, and I know I have ruffled some feathers by doing so, but it's important we have the discussion about the public's concerns. I will put on the record tonight that I received 42 direct letters since putting forward the notice of motion. 12 were against. The biggest concern was an influx of people moving here, taking away from the job market, and burdening our already stressed healthcare system. No doubt the announcement earlier today with tariffs further alleviates or creates pressure on our economic situation in our region, and we don't know what those outcomes are going to be. 30 people submitted letters about keeping the rural renewal stream, some agreeing with some of the concerns being raised and offering suggestions to modify the program. With all that said, I will hand things over to administration to give us some background on the rural renewal stream and their recommendations. Then we'll open the floor to questions and debate from council on the motion that is before you. Go ahead, CEO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this item this evening. It's unfortunate that I need to begin with this. However, I would not be leading this organization with integrity if I did not start in this way tonight. The town of Edson has received an unprecedented number of racist and discriminatory comments through social media, email, and phone. I've never observed anything like this in my entire career. The town of Edson is committed to fostering an inclusive environment. The town of Edson stands against racism and discrimination in all forms. The town has no tolerance for these types of disrespectful behavior. And going forward, we will continue to have zero tolerance towards individuals demonstrating this behavior. As was already mentioned, the Rural Renewal Stream is not a new program to Edson. This program was officially launched in 2022, paused in the summer of 2023, and was granted approval to proceed towards being a designated community once again in April of 2024. That provincial designation was received on January 30th, 2025. This program was set to relaunch on Monday, March 3rd. Upon receiving notification of the notice of motion to terminate the Rural Renewal Stream program for the town of Edson, administration suspended the launch of the program until such time the council could make a decision. The program presented in April 2024 received approval and was determined to be robust and effective at that time. We are simply awaiting provincial approval. Now, with a number of concerns received, I'd like to offer some adjustments for council to consider which could support in a successful relaunch of this program. The first, adjustment to residency requirements. The program would apply to candidates who have lived and worked in Edson for at least 6 months, proof of residency required. This ensures that we are supporting individuals who have already invested in our community. The second, adjustment to the minimum salary requirements. It is recommended that we follow the Government of Alberta guidelines for minimum wage. The third, adjustment to limit the eligible employer's ability to recruit 25% of their full-time workforce rather than the 50%. I've asked Morgan Roberts, our Economic Development Officer, to provide more detailed information about the original program and expand on the recommendations offered for Council's consideration tonight. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, CAO Beveridge. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the recent enhancements to the Edson Rural Renewal Stream program. This initiative is pivotal in addressing our community's workforce challenges, supporting local businesses, and aligning with our economic and strategic goals. The RRS program, which I'll refer to it throughout the presentation, directly supports Edson's objective of fostering a robust and adaptable economy by attracting and retaining workers, thereby strengthening local businesses. This aligns with our 2022 to 2025 strategic plan, which emphasizes attracting and supporting businesses, as well as promoting the town as a prime location for economic opportunities. Our economic development strategy and action plan identifies two key directions: supporting local businesses and laying the groundwork for investment readiness. The RRS program specifically advances Objective 1.2, support workforce attraction and retention efforts, and Action 1.2.2, work to support recruitment efforts that enhance Edson's unique workforce needs. Due to concerns previously identified at the municipal and provincial level, it is important to note the importance of maintaining the integrity of all immigration programs. The Government Alberta, through the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program, has implemented robust fraud prevention measures to protect communities like ours. The AAIP has established a reporting fraud website, which has been linked to our RRS Edson website. This platform enables individuals to report suspected fraudulent activities, ensuring transparency and accountability. Concerns can also be addressed by contacting the Program Integrity and Anti-Fraud Unit via email at programintegrityunit@gov.ab.ca. This direct line of communication facilitates prompt action against potential fraud. By adhering to these provincial guidelines, we aim to uphold the credibility of the Edson RRS program and protect our community from fraudulent activities. To ensure equitable access and administration efficiency, the Edson RRS program will process up to 20 applications per month. This approach takes into consideration the 6-month formal review of the Edson RRS program by Town Council and considers potential government regulatory changes during that time. It also prevents larger businesses from monopolizing available spots, ensuring fair distribution among all businesses. Edson has a rich history of welcoming newcomers who have significantly contributed to our community's development. Recognizing the importance of a stable workforce, the Edson RRS program was introduced to assist employers in retaining essential employees, thereby ensuring economic stability. I'd like to draw your attention to the slide up here. So these are the original best practices presented to Council and the SLT in April of 2024. Initially, the Edson RRS program included residency requirements. Candidates were required to reside in Canada with a valid work permit. Employer application limits. Employers could recruit up to 50% of their full-time workforce through the program. Employer administration fees. A tiered fee structure was implemented with $500 for up to 2 applications and $300 for each additional application. Minimum salary requirements. A minimum wage of $18 an hour was mandated by the Edson RRS program. Application timeline expectations. A maximum of 20 applications were to be reviewed monthly. And a plan for active business engagement, which included quarterly engagements and potential site visits planned to ensure employer eligibility and prevent fraudulent applications. I'll draw your attention to the next slide, These are the new recommendations for the 2025 RRS launch. Based on community feedback and evolving needs, the program has the following proposed revisions. A retention-focused approach. Applicants must have lived and worked in Edson for at least 6 months, ensuring support for those already integrated into our community. Housing requirements. Applicants are now required to provide housing information, ensuring stable accommodations for all involved. Wage alignment. The wage requirement has been adjusted to align with the Government of Alberta's guideline, offering businesses more flexibility while ensuring fair compensation. Business support and recruitment challenges. Employers must demonstrate genuine recruitment challenges before accessing the RRS program, ensuring its use for legitimate workforce needs. And employer limits. A maximum of 25% of a business's workforce can be filled using the Edson RRS program, preserving opportunities for the existing labor market. Through these adjustments, we aim to retain workers, support employees who have already integrated into Edson's workforce, reduce recruitment costs, decrease turnover, and associated expenses leading to business stability, and strengthen the local economy, ensuring businesses can operate effectively and with a reliable workforce. The revised Edson RRS program reflects our commitment to supporting local business and ensuring Edson's economic resilience. By focusing on workforce retention, aligning with our strategic plans, implementing robust fraud prevention measures, and managing applications processing effectively, we aim to foster a thriving community for all residents. I thank you for your attention and continued support, and I'll now take any questions that you may have.
So before we debate the motion, we'll ask Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Roberts or CO Beveridge before we move forward? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Ms. Roberts, with the revised recommendations there, employers are now basically looking within Edson. Is at any point, could an employer within this program go outside the boundaries of Edson if they've exhausted applications within here, or is it just within Edson?
Thank you, through the chair. If an employer wishes to utilize the Edson RRS program as it is currently being presented, the people that they would be interviewing must reside within the community of Edson.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Ms. Roberts. Just a little bit of clarification so I understand it correctly. To my understanding is the employers who apply for this program, they get no special subsidies. They don't get special granting. They don't get special money from taxpayers to offset wages. Is that correct?
Through the chair. It's absolutely correct. In fact, it actually costs employers to utilize this program. There is an administration fee for the endorsement letter application, and then there is another fee on the other end of the program at the provincial side. So there are no, I just want to be really clear in my language, thank you. There are no cost benefits that are being offered by the province to operate in this program on the municipal side or on the business side.
Follow-up question, if I may, Mr. Mayor. So on further to that, then from our point of view, essentially in this program, we're just the person to make sure the rules that we've set forward are being followed. We pass this process off to the province, and the province has final say in this program.
Through the chair. That is correct. Our portion of the program starts with the endorsement letter and ends with the endorsement letter. At that point, the applicants and the businesses take over the rest of the program outside of the municipal control, and it is up to the Government of Alberta to approve them from there.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Chachka.
Thanks, through the chair to Ms. Roberts. Thanks for bringing an alternate recommendation forward. I know when we approved this almost a year ago, there's quite a few different things in the economic climate that have changed. My question kind of spins off of Councillor Positiony's comments about people benefiting from this program. There's some allegations, I guess, or some things put forward that that the town of Edson is receiving funding from the province for this program, and that we're getting, per diem, to push applications through. Can you confirm whether or not the town is receiving any funding as far as being a part of this provincial program?
Through the chair, the town of Edson has not received and will not be receiving any money to operate the Rural Renewal Stream program in Edson.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Chachka?
Thanks. Through the chair to Ms. Roberts or administration. So the way that you have this proposed, it is maybe only allowing the current residents to reapply and continue the process that this, I guess, program is designed for. I know there has been some feedback from organizations within the community that have been relying on this to attract skilled workers to their programs because they have a very hard time attracting locally and often have job ads every day of the year and still cannot find local people when those positions require, about 2 years or equivalency of education. So this is something that has been able to keep these very, very integral organizations in our community available to offer the services that they do. I guess, what are the challenges, or is it feasible to allow some skilled workers within the program that those positions require mandatory education requirements of like 2 years post-secondary? Like, is there a way to add that into the program? I don't know how that looks up from your end of it, but if for those jobs that do require like 2 years post-secondary certificate or something, is there a way to add that into this program so they can continue operating by attracting skilled workers under this?
Go ahead, Ms. Roberts. You may not have an answer to that particular question.
So at this time, if a business was as the program is being currently presented, at this time, we would require those individuals that the business or organization is looking to hire to be in Edson for more than 6 months. If they were here in Edson for that 6-month time frame working at an alternative business, then that would meet the residency requirement that we are putting out. If they are not located in Edson, it would not meet the current requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to council, just wanted to note, just with regards to the administrative fee that the town would be receiving if this program were to be launched, that was set up to offset any administrative costs. So essentially, there is administrative work that is required for this program, and the fees received for that is to offset the salary of that excess work, and to ensure that that's being paid for by the businesses versus being paid for by taxpayers.
Thank you. Council, do you have any further questions for administration before we start to debate this motion? I see none. So before we take a vote, we will open the floor to debate, and I'll just speak to this a little bit further. So right now, the motion on the floor that I brought forward in my notice of motion is to direct administration to terminate the Rural Renewal Stream program for the town of Edson. I've received a lot of correspondence, as I mentioned. Some of it was, I believe, very legitimate concerns in terms of our current economic situation in our community. I was very disturbed by some of the racial comments, and there were some. And if anybody says there wasn't, I challenge you on that. That's not everybody, and I don't know if that was the intent or not, but it was not acceptable. And once again, I do apologize to all the newcomers to our community, and some of them are not even newcomers. They've been here a long time contributing to this community. Everybody provides value to the town of Edson, and we appreciate everybody and everybody's differing views. We're allowed to have differing opinions, but we should be doing so respectfully. I voted in favor of this program. I stand by that. And tonight I'm going to be voting in favor of my motion. Not because I personally believe in it, but because I believe the people that do have concerns in this community do also need to have some representation in terms of showing that the feeling in the community is not unanimous. But there is some really challenging positions in the community where businesses are having a very hard time finding local employees. Is there abuse? Has there been abuse? Absolutely. And those employers should be held accountable. That is not fair to the rest of the communities that have these programs. It is not fair to those folks that are looking to start a better life who are being taken advantage of. And I don't accept those types of businesses that are abusing the system. I also believe that, I think maybe there is opportunities for us through the discussion that we've had over the last few days of looking at ways on how to further engage our youth and look at ways to better support our community when it comes to job employment opportunities. So there was some commentary about housing being an issue in our community. We have a vacancy rate of 15% right now in the town of Edson. When it comes to the rental market survey, now, are rents too high? Yes, but there is vacancy in our community. Typically, we've been 0 to 3% if you look at the historical data going back to 2009. So housing isn't as big of an issue as it is, I think, that the job market issue that we've talked about, the going with our healthcare system. We are trying to attract doctors. We can't get Canadian doctors. We have to go outside of the country. Now, they're going to bring spouses, they're going to bring families, and they need to be able to move here as well. And that's one of the big things we talk about in our committee is that in order for doctors to come here or physicians to come here, their spouse needs to have a job. Their kids need a place to go get daycare. And so we need to make sure that we are allowing that to occur in our community because we're not going to have those healthcare professionals. So that is something that we need to consider as well. I think I've spoken long enough, so Council, I will open the floor to any councillors that wish to speak at this time. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Yes, through the mayor, I also voted for this program. I believed in the program, and I echo most of the words the mayor said, and exactly right. And I do like the changes because one of the concerns was where they said to $18 an hour to make it fair. The percentages, even some of the comments, like a lot of the emails were respectful. Some weren't. I went through the comments as well. And then my children are now older, but my grandchildren. So when I hear the comment, we're losing jobs. Well, when my son was 15 years old, he could not work at a coffee shop or a service place and to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning to work till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yes, he did work at a part-time job from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 10. So it wasn't that many years ago, and that's why in April I voted in favor of it. When it was busy, people were complaining, certain businesses were closed. I can't get a coffee. I can't get a burger. Well, that was due to shortage of staff. So, and with this, some new businesses opened in town using this program, working forward. So people are saying, what are you doing to attract new businesses to town? So when new business builds in town, it's tax dollars. So this program helps to encourage people. And like the mayor said, we're trying to attract doctors. So I want Edson to be open to all, and even where doctors move to here, like, depending on things, they're going to have a spouse, they're going to have a family. So we need to be open to that. So, with the changes, I believe that addresses a lot of the concerns, and I've had phone calls, emails. I don't troll Facebook, but this time, because it was so outgoing, I did troll. Some of the comments were fair, but some I would also apologize. Like, we went too far. I want Edson to be a welcoming community. We're all struggling. We need healthcare workers. What would a doctor think that's moving here and he looked on Facebook? We would not get that doctor. So we need to be respectful, move forward, and encourage. So I do like this, and I want to keep the program. So thank you.
Counselor Taylor.
Through the mayor to members of council, administration, and gallery, and many people watching at home. First things first, I am going to be voting against the motion to terminate the program. I supported this program when it was first brought forward, and I'm going to support it again here tonight. I do want to thank everyone who reached out via email or letter. I was able to connect via phone with many different individuals on both sides of the issue over the last few days. And thank you to those individuals for having positive conversations, cordial conversations, professional conversations. I got to hear your point of view. I got to share sort of my thoughts on the issue and ask questions. And there were a number of different people I spoke to, from residents to business owners, and to people that have used the program. As mentioned before, I have seen the comments on social media. And again, there are many legitimate concerns. I think concerns that we're addressing here tonight. One of the big concerns that was brought forward was 20 people per month coming. Well, according to what we're proposing here tonight, is that's not the case. We're going to be looking from within Edson, yes, from individuals that are already here. And there were a number of other concerns. There were individuals who I think had a misguided understanding of the program. And hopefully we've, thank you, Ms. Roberts and CAO Beveridge, for illuminating some of the, putting it, and of course we've talked about this before, but putting it forward, what it actually is. And perhaps there was some fault in terms of the town, in terms of the original posts last week, that we didn't provide enough information. And we have to take accountability for that, because when you don't provide enough information, then people are going to fill in their own gaps. Okay? So we take accountability for that. But tonight, we fill in those gaps. And of course, as said before, there were some comments that were pretty disgusting. They were racist comments, and this is unacceptable in our community. And these comments were actually being posted on Pink Shirt Day, a day where we stand up against bullying and stand up against intolerance and stand up against racism. But these comments are not who we are. And we need to be better than that, and support people of all races and cultures in our community. And that's that diversity that makes Edson, in my mind, the best place to live. I do want to address one concern. It was kind of brought forward by Mayor Sahara, and I heard it throughout the threads on social media and in letters, was youth not being able to find employment. Well, I hear that. I have a 16-year-old son currently unemployed, and various reasons for that. But this program deals with full-time employment, not part-time, right? And, I heard from many business owners, yes, it is easier to hire a full-time employee than a youth that can only work Tuesday from 4 till 8 and Saturday from 1 to 3. That being said, had some good conversations with business owners that they're always open to hiring youth. And last night, brought forward an idea to our youth council about how we could assist youth in finding employment. Whether that's helping resume write, or how to conduct themselves in an interview, or how we can create a database of businesses willing to hire youth and to assist them to make sure that happens, right? And our youth council could work with our economic development officer. And of course, this idea is still in its infancy stages, but I can attest, the Councilor Pacici can attest, that the kids that we got on our youth council are pretty sharp and committed kids. And they understand the importance of youth finding employment and what that means. This is a provincial program that's used in many other municipalities, from Hinton to Whitecourt to Drayton Valley, and we would be no different to using it. And I think it would be unfair in our municipality to give other municipalities that leg up. We are just following a provincial program that's offered to us. So why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we assist that? This is just another tool for economic development. It's not the only tool, and it shouldn't be the only tool, but it's one, and it's one way to assist our employers to finding the right employees to fit their business. So again, I will be voting against this motion because I support the rural renewal stream.
Thank you. Councillor Chachka.
Thanks, through the chair to council and those viewing. So I will comment on some of my concerns and things that I've heard over the past couple of days about this program. Along with other members of council, I've been in support of this program through the process that has been mentioned, including when there was fraudulent activity that we paused it for some time. Some of the root concerns that I heard about this, as Councillor Taylor mentioned, were less job opportunities for youth. There are, as mentioned, there are other, and not just youth, for other, I guess, unemployed adults. And there are methods and programs and organizations like Alberta Works and several others available to help those individuals with some of the things that were mentioned. And maybe there's more they can do, or maybe people don't know that they're there. So those, some of those programs are already in place in case people aren't aware of that. Another thing mentioned was that we shouldn't have any more new people moving to the community because we have huge healthcare strains. And I do understand that perspective, that, you know, if we only have so many doctors and we have more people, then it's less people get to see those doctors. But the challenge is that we also need doctors. So we do need more people coming in. We just can't keep that at a status quo, at a very stagnant line. I have had the privilege of touring prospective physicians in our community and working with them on different methods of integration should they have chosen Edson. And I'm very particular about how I tour them around. If they have families, we make sure we go to the daycares. If they have children in schools, we find out what kind of school needs they require. You know, are they in French immersion? Are they in the Catholic school? Are they in the public school? Do they want to see a variety of both? And when we tour those schools, it is very noticeable that we have diversity in our classrooms, which is really amazing because they comment on it and it's positive. Being able to see others in the room that they maybe can guess have either, you know, have immigrated here or not, they know that that's a part of a welcoming a community. And we talk about the Edson Settlement Services and the work that they have there and integration into the community. And that's really, really valuable stuff when we have those conversations. And standing out as being welcoming is really important. We are competing against other rural communities like Fort Saskatchewan and Spruce Grove for physicians, and all other communities in rural Alberta, but I thought those were interesting ones that I did not realize they fall under rural Alberta. So some of the benefits provided to rural physicians also provide to rural physicians in Fort Saskatchewan, which is just really, really unique. So if we want to stand out as a community, there's a few things that we have to be able to do, and integration into our community is a huge one. They always ask, my spouse wants a job, can you help me find them a job? And then you ask, what does your spouse do? If they're within the healthcare industry, then we start, you know, sending a few notes if we know of openings, and if they are in a position where they would have to immigrate into our community, then there are other strains. This program may not be the best one for them, but there are other tools that could be specific for healthcare workers. But if their spouse is not a healthcare worker, it is my understanding this would be the only tool that we would have to attract a physician that has a spouse that would like to work. And if they wanted to immigrate into the community, this would be the only one that we would have been able to do that in a reasonable manner. So I'm really challenged when people say, you know, don't or end the program, we can't allow any more people into the community, when everyone was all saying we need doctors. So this is something that I feel is absolutely 100% integral for that role. We'll move on. Another root concern was the current economic climate. We've had 3 major projects that have been completed, and it provided economic advantage to our community and growth. And now we've seen some challenges with those leaving, and of course the pending, or I guess now they're here now, the tariffs, I guess, and what that looks like. And that's also why we want to review this every 6 months, because we know that the environment is constantly changing, and we want to be able to adapt as that happens. So I don't. I guess the way that it is currently proposed, or the proposal that administration is recommending in order to maintain this program, mentions only having people that are currently here. I do have a preference that people, or maybe just a few applicants a month or something like that, out of those 20 could be eligible for some of those areas, either for skilled workers that are mandated to have education for their roles, something like a government regulated job, or if someone had to recruit an HR manager or something where there's regulations around those roles, that there was a way to allow those workers into our community under this program. And people also speak about the housing strains. That's another root concern. If you check your utility bill this week, there is a housing strategy. That is something that has also been in our strategic plan. So we are aware of some challenges there, and would certainly like feedback and support on what people think. So check your utility bill. It's separate from this, but it is also a challenge. And another concern were the fraudulent activities, and I'm pleased to hear that there's been a way that people can address that online in a very quick and efficient method. So I don't support the motion as it's worded, and I guess those are my reasons why.
Thank you. Councillor Pasechny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm speaking against the motion on a number of reasons. My biggest reason is, and first and foremost, like I've never seen emails come in like they've come in on both sides. It's very unique, and I thank the mayor for replying to everybody as they came in. There was a real strong on the non-business side. It was mixed, and on the business side, it was very unanimous of support, and that's my reason for supporting this. The rural renewal stream is designed to stop the urbanization that's occurring in our province. And Edson hasn't grown, but Calgary and Edmonton have, and Red Deer has, and all these big centers are growing. And the idea is to get people to go into your rural areas if they're new to Alberta. Very, very, very rarely do we get the opportunity as a community to add an Edson set of requirements to a provincial program. I think the revisions are good. It's not, I think it addresses some of the concerns brought to us through the emails and correspondence from our community. But to me, I don't want to ever put Edson against a disadvantage against its neighbors. And that's the biggest reason for me speaking against the motion is businesses pay a far higher mill rate in this community. They pay the lion's share of our taxes. They employ the people in this community. And if there's ways we can support businesses, I feel we need to do it. So my take is definitely on the business side of this, that we need to support those who are here in our community.
All right, thank you. Any further comments or questions before I call the question? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair, to the council and everybody else, I did vote for the RRS program way back when. I still vote for it. I think it's a good thing for our town to have. I've received a lot of phone calls and text messages and everything else for it and that. And it was brought up that, like our one thing here was a misconception of what people could be employed by in that. I like what we've had up here now where they're saying they're gonna, make different changes to it and that. I know businesses in town that if you're trying to hire somebody from in town, you're not gonna be able to get in town. You're gonna have to go out of town. You may not have to go out of the country or whatever in that, but you could go someplace else to get them in that. There is businesses in town that are, say, nonprofit that they're specialized. They need levels 1, 2, 3s or whatever in that. You cannot find them any place in the town of Edson. You can barely even find them in Alberta. They have to put it out to someplace else to have them come in. And so the idea of 20 is great. I like that. I will support going forward with this program. I do like it. I could go on with what everybody else said here, but it's no avail. I will support keeping our program available.
All right, thank you. Councillor Taylor, do you have something new to add?
Yes, through the mayor, just spinning off of what Councillor Chachka and Councillor Bevan said, obviously looking from within Edson is important, but there is a time when that skilled labor is needed. And Councillor Bevan alluded to certification, Councillor Chachka spoke to that educational requirement. So, and I'm not sure how we design that so that we can have that ability to do that, but I just think that it is important that we look at whether or not that's tonight. I know it's tough to do that in these types of settings tonight, but how we could approach that in the future is important. So, and that is to attract that skilled, certified labor that's not present in this community. And one final thing I will say is that if we did terminate this program, there are a number of people in our community who would be forced to leave. People that have been here for 2-3 years now that are trying to make Edson their home, that have committed to being here, would not be able to complete their permanent residency. And I cannot, in good conscience, let that happen. If they want to be contributing members of our community and run businesses and work, make a decent living and contribute to our community, I got letters of people, of businesses contributing to making donations to nonprofit groups. We want that in our community. I do worry about the ramifications of what has transpired over the last little while. Mayor Zahara and Councillor Chachka spoke about their work attracting doctors. And when we look at doctors wanting to come to our community, one of the things that they're simply going to do is type Town of Edson into Facebook. And due to the sheer number of comments on those posts last week, those posts will come up first. And some of those comments are indicating we don't want people. So now there's work to be done on those attraction committees to continue to attract doctors and healthcare professionals. And we're going to continue as a council to do that. And we need that community support to make that happen. And those are my comments.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to query administration here before I call the question. So you have provided some recommendations if this motion fails, which I believe it will. Then you would be looking for alternative motions to adopt the RRS program with the modifications outlined. There has been some suggestions in some specific areas that we may need to expand it to include people from outside of Edson. Would you prefer us making a motion on that tonight, or would you prefer having time to review that to understand exactly what that needs to look like and then bring it back to a future council meeting for those specific areas that we heard about during the engagement process the last couple days?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with, obviously, voting on the motion that's on the floor to determine whether the termination of the program, I would be prepared to request, to be able to speak to that, I'd have to request a brief recess to be able to evaluate what we're actually speaking about as far as, there's a varying, when we do these things without consideration, that's my concern. But I just need to understand if it's something that we maybe can accommodate. I don't wish to extend this further if we don't have to, if it's something that we can work through, and if it suits the council members' needs, that we're recommending the options. So that would be my recommendation, that we call for a 10-minute recess to have a brief conversation about what it is exactly and what it's not, and see if we can accommodate.
All right, thank you, CO Beveridge. So I will call the question here in a few moments, and then we'll vote on that. And then would you like to recess immediate afterwards, or would you like us to approve the recommendations first and then do subsequent motions on the additions, just for process-wise?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I do recommend is to put forward the initial motion that's on the floor and allow for a recess in order to determine the best path. Thank you.
Thank you, CO Beveridge. So no other further comments on this from council. Once again, I do want to say that I do appreciate the letters that we did receive that were very respectful on both sides of the debate and the conversations I've had. Since the original post came out, there were people that sent letters or indicated that they were against the program and then contacted me and said, I am against the program, but I do want to keep the folks that are here in town to stay. And that was awesome to see, that there was some level of understanding that, you know, this does have impacts on people that have dedicated significant time in our community. Some of you I've seen volunteering. I've seen you in our sports fields. I visit your places of business. And I also want to say that we appreciate those contributions and all the contributions, as I mentioned previously, from all residents of Edson. One of the comments made here was the commentary on social media and the impacts it has. I think people often forget that what you write online has a very big impact when it comes to recruiting people to this community. If they're looking to move to Edson or Hinton or Whitecourt, and they pull up our Facebook page and see those types of comments, they're not coming here. And the most effective way to communicate to council if you are unhappy with a decision or something that you see in the agenda package is to email us, to call us, to talk to us in a respectful manner, of course, and then we will bring those concerns forward or consider those concerns. Social media has the ability to do some really great things, but also has the ability to do some really, really harsh things, and sometimes unintentionally. So, as I mentioned earlier, I will be voting in favor of the motion that I put forward tonight, because I think it would be a little disingenuous not for me to do that when I brought forward the notice of motion, but it's not something that I personally believe in, and I want to be very clear on that. I do believe there were legitimate concerns, and I think the recommendations brought forward here by administration addresses those concerns, and hopefully we can find some ways to address some of those key areas that have been brought up in which that skilled labor is required that is totally exhausted in our community. So with that, council, I will call the question. All those in favor of directing administration to terminate the rural renewal stream program for the town of Edson, who is in favor? All those opposed? That motion is defeated 6-1, and I will call for a recess so administration can review and bring back some motions for council to consider. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for allowing us to take a recess to ensure that whatever language we use tonight is correct in terms of how council wants to proceed. I guess we will be calling for an alternative motion now. Does Ms. Veerboom have that ready, CO Beveridge? Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
Mr. Mayor, based on the discussion with regards to potential for additional information that was requested by the council members that noted the adjustment, I would offer that the council member have the opportunity to just speak to the question again, and so we're able to actually answer that in public as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So would one of those council members want to speak? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Ms. Roberts, very specifically, if a business or organization is looking for a specific skilled labor, whether it's certification, whether it's education that does not exist in this community, has been advertised for, and is not available in this community, what can this program do for in that scenario, if anything.
Go ahead, Ms. Roberts.
Under the Rural Renewal Stream program, workers must have 1 year's worth of experience in the same National Occupational Classification Code. So what that means is that a lot of individuals, when they go to work at a business, will often work in that business or work in that field somewhere in Canada to meet that requirement of the provincial RRS program. Presumably, under the recommendations that we have presented tonight, that individual could come into our community, work 6 months in our community, and then apply for their endorsement letter under the Edson RRS program, allowing them to go through the program, gain their endorsement letter, and apply through the province for the rest of it.
Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. That satisfies my question and answers my question. Thank you.
Sure ahead. Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Through the chair to Ms. Roberts, how do we know that they're staying here once they get their letter? Like, is there a follow-up program, a way of ensuring that they're not just grabbing and going? Is there a way of doing that, or is there a way of checking that? Or is that just on a complaint and report basis?
Through the mayor. Ultimately, the endorsement letter is only one part of a much larger process. So our engagement starts and ends around the endorsement letter, but the rest of the program requires them to stay with that individual for a more extended amount of time. So presumably they would be staying with that business for that time frame.
All right. Any other questions for Ms. Roberts before we take a motion for the floor? So I did have a question. So if we have 20 endorsement letters per month, does that 20 endorsement letters just for those individuals, or is that for the individuals and their families?
Endorsement letters are only provided for the individual workers.
Okay, so then that does not bring their families or anything like that, just for the workers to come to the community.
The Edson RRS program is an employer-focused program, so we only deal with the employers that are hiring the employees. The rest of the RRS program does have some contingencies around allowing families to come. I'm not an expert at the rest of the RRS program beyond the endorsement letter point. I would want to seek further clarification on that question.
All right, thank you very much. And I think that's important to note that immigration is a federal program. We have the province involved. We are only a little snippet of it just in terms of our community's business needs. And none of us around this table are immigration experts. And as soon as I start reading some of the stuff, I get so confused. And I can only imagine how it is for people that are looking to move here. And so a further point of clarification through our discussions here this evening. So why would it be that if we did terminate the program, why would it be that the individuals that are here would have to leave? It's because they haven't completed that process and their work permit's only for a certain period of time. Is that correct?
That is correct. Presumably, they would leave to find another community that would provide them with an endorsement letter, and they would progress through the process in that community.
Otherwise, they probably would have to return to their country of origin.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much for clarifying those points. Council, anybody, do we have motions prepared already? So I'll ask Ms. Veerboom, who's joining us online this evening, to bring up those motions. All right, so council, can I get a motion that council authorize administration to proceed with the rural renewal stream program with amendments to proof of residency requirements, wage alignment with Government of Alberta provincial guidelines, and employment limits? Go ahead, Councillor Chouinard.
I'll make the motion as you read unless you want me to repeat it.
We are good. All right, council, we will open the floor to any debates around this. I think we've talked about this quite a bit. I do like the proposed changes, and I think it does address the majority of the concerns that were raised in the last week. And I do appreciate everybody that is here tonight that have provided these suggestions to us, because I think that has helped us through this process. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. And do we have any further motions? That would be it. All right, thank you. And once again, thank you to everybody that attended tonight, and also for being very respectful, which was really, really good. We have no closed meeting sessions, no business arising from the meeting. So with that, I will adjourn this meeting. Have a good evening, everyone.